Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
bringing you this week's collective energy share on Ascended World. And we've had so much going on and so much to talk about. Continuously for so long now, but especially the last several weeks. So our conversation, I think we just should jump into our conversation from yesterday, which was, so it was this weird anxiety that started, right? Discomfort. It was edginess, not quite anxiety. What was it?
Well, I started out by saying that I just was feeling lost. Like, what do you think about? What do you do? What do you focus on? What do you project?
And this is with us, doing constant self-work and awareness and collective work. I mean, constant, even more so constant in the past, several weeks, right? So morning, Yasmin. And it was funny because when you said that, I said, it's funny because I had a conversation with a client / friend of mine on Friday who asked me how I've been doing because we had talked on the phone and hadn't talked for a while. And I said, you know what? And I said, I want to say lost, but lost is not the word, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, I feel uncomfortable, right?
Well, when you were just saying that, something that flashed in my eyes, it's like being a newborn baby, you don't really know how to behave, how to react, how to deal with everything. And that's kind of the way I feel, is that it's like everything's different, but somehow I don't feel different.
Yeah. And so I was looking at that, right? Because I've been looking at that too, and went to let's see. I had a really good day so Friday was really edgy. Saturday was really good. Felt comfortable. The funny thing was Friday felt like edgy. And I did actually get an email, a text from Sandy Anthony, our friend Sandy Anthony, who's been on here with us.
Right.
Who had asked me on, I think it was Friday, if things had been wiggy because she had a really, really edgy, odd day herself. And I said, yeah, apparently there must be something huge coming up, collectively, where the crumb of whatever I have or we have or whatever is coming up, right? So I spent a lot of time Saturday, and I had a really good, deep, long meditation on Saturday and did a bunch of self-work and focused creation, and then had a really good day Saturday. And then yesterday, I felt like I was avoiding something. And
right.
that was the thing, is that then we got into our conversation like probably yesterday afternoon. And like I didn't want to meditate. I kept on saying I was going to, and I found all these excuses not to. And so we came to this place of talking about there's some discomfort underneath, and it's not what you would think it is. It has nothing to do with the virus. It has nothing to do with, what's going on in what is presented to be going on.
It's not medical, it's not environmental, it's not health, it's not financial, economical, it's
right,
nothing.
And that was the funny thing, because we've had effects. We've had some personal effects on financial, fairly minor, and things that we can still like be fine through and everything. And yet I found myself like looking at wanting to go into this old cycle that I haven't felt in a really long time, of being anxious about, oh, I'm going to have to count every penny and like with this, what's going on.
Right.
And I was like, no, but I can choose. And the voice that was really loud was like, you can choose differently.
Right.
Of course I know that. And that's really what many of us are going through right now with whatever adjustments that we're being faced with. Okay. But the thing was, the more you and I spoke, the more it was like, no, that was just a projection of the energy to put it someplace. Right.
Right. To put it in a box that we know.
Right.
Right.
And like, oh, so I don't have, and that's where the voice was, no, you don't have to do that. No, you can do it differently, right? Meaning don't put that energy here because then you'll create it anyway, right? So
And it still won't address
this,
the real issue.
right. And we'll just have to keep on cycling. And it's like, okay, so
It's like the cycles are just so tight right now.
I know. Good morning,
Like
Laurel.
daily, daily, daily. Like a skipping record.
So it's like, okay. And so I hadn't been in that rut of, I don't want to say rut, but like in that, like, I think when I say rut, I think of like in like a wheel, like a covered wagon, wheel in the mud kind of thing. Right. And
Right.
like the way that, like, when you're in the dirt and you ride a bike or something, you keep on going. Good morning, Gloria. You keep on going to, until you create this like rut, it's a track, right? So it's like, so I've gotten out of the track and created new tracks, and it was like, oh no, I found this. No, and then there was a part of me going, oh, I could comfortably fit this discomfort into there. Good morning,
Right.
Sandy. You know what? You just missed it. We just were talking about you. I thought I was talking about your text, I think Friday, about the discomfort of what's going on. So
Well, and it would be easy to say this discomfort can fit back in that pattern, and then I don't have to really look at it or
right.
work or dissect it.
Well, then you can claim victimhood to it, right?
Right.
Oh, here I have to do this again. Oh, look at, why does this have to happen again? Why haven't we changed this? That's that victimhood, which you and I have been talking about for months, right? Getting transcendent to victimhood and everything, right?
Right.
So we're like, okay, so we're in a completely different place energetically. We're stepping back. I mean, we are in a completely different place energetically right now, right? So we're stepping back, and instead of allowing ourselves to step into that rut anymore, just move the wheels right out, and say, okay, so this path is going in a different direction. What's the direction it's taking us, and why is it so uncomfortable and edgy under the surface?
Right. Unknown, unremembered.
Yeah. And that's where I said, it's like we've come to the next room with a white elephant in it that we don't know how to see yet. We don't remember how to see yet, right? We talked about that months ago, but it's like we've progressed, and this is like, oh, you've gotten through all these doors now. Now there's this one, right? It makes me think of the meditation you and I did last Tuesday, right?
Right. Right. And it's like you get to that place, and it's like, okay, the method to get here with this was the same, but the settings, like in a play, have all been shifted and changed, and now it's a whole new story.
Yes. And so what we started feeling around about in our conversation was, so it's interesting to watch people starting to, like, as everyone has settled into this
new normal,
right? Now, like, a lot of the major original fear waves have passed. People are just sort of getting into a different routine.
Right.
And there are many who have not, because they're still like reeling from whatever, they've had some major changes too. But it's given us a breath of space. And there's conversations of stuff of people, of us talking about things coming up in May and June and whatever. And the thing is, like we were talking about last week. Good morning, Nikki. What we were talking about last week was moving forward into the new normal, right?
Right. Right.
And so the challenge is, it's like what we did in the guided meditation last Tuesday, right? Which is the door disappears behind you.
Right.
No going back.
Right.
Right. There is no going back. And this is what we talked about last week. So if you missed last week's, go back and watch the video. But
disappearing staircase, you take a step up and the step behind you disappears.
Exactly.
Not an option anymore.
Right. So the thing is, with this discussion of, oh, like this is still going on. There are the events that have been pushed out, and now they're in May and June and whatever. And everybody's starting to talk about them, because here we are now coming into the second half of, this week is the middle of April.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I had to look at the date to make sure.
I had to look at the calendar.
So, but there's a part of me that I was like very cognizant of when I was able to step back and away from that that effort at projection into some old anxiety stuff, right? When I stepped back and I really looked at it, the feeling of discomfort was, oh no, don't lose yourself. Not me, but everybody. Let's not lose ourselves in trying to look forward to something that's coming up, right? That was put off or whatever after the stay-at-home orders cease and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And stop doing what you're doing here, right? Because the ego will try to grasp onto it because it wants to feel like it's going back to normal.
Right. Right.
And so what happened when I started looking at that, that's where the edginess and anxiety and discomfort came, because it was like, oh, no, 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 no. We're still in the cocoon.
Right. It's still just another version of where we've been.
Yeah. So yes, there are things that are going to be out there, but let's stay really focused in the present moment and where we are right now, because that's how those things come to be, right? In a new way, is for us to allow that cocooning, this going within time, to really serve its purpose, because we set it up collectively, right? And the thing was, what was the realization that we had in the discussion was, well, because the knowledge came immediately of, because if we go out too early from the cocoon, what's next is far more intense,
right,
than what we're going through right now.
And we haven't done our prep work.
Right. And then and then there's the part of me going, oh, no, this is enough.
Failure is not an option here. So
exactly.
So, the uneasiness is, have we gotten to a place where we've ensured success?
Right, because
I'm not feeling that.
No, I'm not either.
I am not feeling that.
And that's where the discomfort came. That's where the discomfort was originated. It was, I know that many believe, and again, let's go back to remembering that this conversation here is at the collective. We're talking not just individually, but at the collective level.
Right.
So for anybody who's watching or listening, but the whole idea is, it's like what I keep on saying is like when you're on a roller coaster, right? And the seats have locked, and not only have they locked, but you're pulling away, right? Now you're committed. So we're committed.
Yeah.
You're on it whether you love it or not.
Right. Or whether you chose to be here or not, you are.
Right. But the thing that is in our power is how intense the roller coaster is. Right. Because we can still create that as we go.
Exactly. And, we created this. We aren't victims to this. We created this.
Right.
Which that gives it a nice slant that victimhood doesn't give it. It's like, oh, I chose this, so I know I can do this, and add into, I'm powerful enough to do that, so I can create what it looks like. I can create the scenery along the way.
Yes. Yeah.
And the rise and the falls.
And that's the realization for us to come to, right? Is, okay, I'm already committed, so I'm not getting off this roller coaster ride.
Which that in and of itself, just admitting and taking a breath with that is huge.
Right. So whether the end is my death, which doesn't matter, right? Whether the end is, or that what, it doesn't matter what's at the end. What really matters is, all right, I've already committed, I've pulled away from the station, and now I'm not getting off because I agreed to that.
Right.
So I'm to get through these sets of evolution, right? I'm going to do it. And so so it's my choice. And the other thing is, it's my choice not only to build that whole roller coaster, because we've already built it pretty much, or we're building it as we go, but to whether we're going to enjoy it,
right,
or cry through it. That's our choice too.
scream, pass out, all those.
Scream, put your hands up in the air, laugh hysterically, or cry. That's your
Right,
choice.
right,
I myself like the laughing hysterically. That's that's my thing. So, but at the collective level, this is what we're doing. We've already done it. We've left the station. Okay.
right,
This was
right. Whether you realize it or not.
right. This is this is the first massive, like big, huge, up and down of the roller coaster. So what worked for you, all right, let's just say on this comparison, what worked for you when you were walking on the ground that wasn't moving,
Right,
right, doesn't work for you in the roller coaster.
right,
So we've changed, we've done it, we've done the paradigm shift, right?
right. Exactly.
So it's the thing is this: if we leave or change the process of what we're doing to change, which is what the roller coaster really is, right? If we make the effort of changing, we're either you fall, like you could try to get out,
Right.
you can fall off, right, and die. But it's pretty much, we've agreed to this collectively, right? We've agreed to this, and this is what we've yet to remember. Okay.
Right. Which is, when you said you can choose to get out and die and it doesn't matter, because it's like that's not the point anymore.
Nikki says, I'm gonna let go, hold my hands in the air, and scream in joy.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's me too. First
Right.
row, baby. I'm in the first row.
If I want to be in the
Here.
first row.
I know, Sarah, makes me think of that Hummer ride we had with
Right.
years ago. Sarah's like, oh no, oh no.
Nope, not doing this.
Pacing straight down at the top of a hill. That was great. So anyway, side story there. but we were laughing the entire way.
Yes, we were.
So even with Sandy, who tried to do it without her seatbelt on. Anyway, so that's the whole thing. It's our choice. And if we the thing is, and it's not that we can't create differently, it's that we haven't, that we are choosing to create this path because it's time. It's sort of like the 11th hour, right?
Right. It's the path forward, not the path back around.
Right. And we're done cycling. And to break the pattern and get out of the rut is for us to do things differently. So this was the first step, right? And for that is, for us, the step is we gave ourselves this strange and unique opportunity to go inside
Right.
and really get strong again and listening to what's our inner voice, right? That's really the bigger,
and to gain that trust.
right? I mean, because if we are to get to the next part of the ride, well, as we get to the next part of the ride, the way to navigate it with that fun and joy is to really have that trust and really not regard what you see with your physical eyes.
Or hear with your ears, or
right.
anything else, because we're not seeing a lot, but we're believing a lot.
Right. So, right. And that's the whole thing is for us to get out of group. So the funny thing is to get out of group think.
Right.
And get into oneness, and wholeness. That's a completely different place.
It really is. Really is.
And it sounds like they're the same thing, but it's not.
And trust that connection.
Yes.
Practice it enough to where you gain that trust and that connection all the time.
Yeah. Because and it's great to see there's a lot more people that are, thinking outside the box. They're saying something doesn't line up with what's going on. This doesn't make sense, which is what you and I have known from the beginning. And the next step, though, is not to get fearful, right? Because that's the next step of fearfulness.
Right.
Well, there's this, and there's population control and mind control, and we've talked about that a little bit over the past several weeks. But but the reality is, have you gotten into your guidance
Right.
to say, okay, so what's the purpose of this? Like, to go back to, and I don't even know if we've talked about this publicly here. I know we've talked so much in the past weeks that I'm out online. I don't know where we said what, but I know. So for example, you and I have been guided, like seriously guided, with a lot of these, what people call conspiracy theory things, like that have come in front of us. Like, we
Right.
haven't sought them out. They have come in front of us repeatedly for like it, actively for like 6 to 9 months before this even started, right?
Right.
And so the thing was, I'm not somebody who really pursues that. I mean, I'm like, okay, I always look at everything and say, what's the nugget in here of
Right.
truth, right?
Right.
No. But remember, it got so intense that so much was coming to us before this ever started, and it made no sense. And I was like, so why does this matter? Like, why is it important for me to look at this? Because,
So what? So
yeah,
what if I look at this? So what if I don't look at this?
yeah. And it's like, yeah, but the more we didn't look at it, the more we kept
Well,
on getting pushed in front of our faces.
right.
And and so then finally I asked, so what is the purpose? What is there for me to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer that I got was, all you need to do is know how to navigate it. Right. And I believe my understanding is that means to stay out of fear or anger and to simply navigate through it. Right.
Right.
And how do you navigate through it? You listen to guidance over everything that's in front of you. So,
Right. Your trust comes from internally versus externally.
right.
I trust these things versus I trust this.
And the more you do that, by the way, the less these things start to affect you at all.
Or even you even notice them.
Right.
Right.
I mean, because I've had so many people call me over the past several weeks about wanting to have the private one-on-one conversations about, conspiracy theory and about this, and why does these things don't line up, and this is so dark, and I'm like, okay, and that's still us.
Right.
So in the past, what have we done? We've gone to fight it, right? And what's the best thing? Like, well, not the best thing. What I'm getting to do is simply transcend it now.
Right. Right.
And ignore it. Not
Right.
even, not ignore it, like not ignore it in a way of giving it power, but simply transcend it, to look at it and say, I see you. Yep, see you. See it there. And this is what I'm guided to do, to navigate. Yeah.
Right.
And so the stronger that becomes, the less that becomes relevant in any way, shape, or form, because I just do what I'm guided to do.
Right.
And so, people are going to judge you for that. Oh, that's irresponsible, right? Because you're not doing what everybody's telling you to do, what the government's telling you. The same government that everybody was really suspicious of a month ago, now all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, the government's telling you to do this, and it's like, okay, what does your guidance tell you to do?
Right.
So,
right. And that confidence in yourself is probably the biggest leap a lot of people have to take.
yes, that you are worthy and able.
Right. Right.
Get that clear message.
To be relied upon for yourself.
Right. Right. And so, and the funny thing is, so many of us have the idea from the ego of, I can only rely upon myself, right? With my own logic, right?
Right.
But the thing is, to get out of that and to get into, I can only rely upon my own guidance, because that's a much different thing than your logic, because the logic is written by your ego and mind. Right.
Right. And based on external experiences, which at this point are totally irrelevant.
Yes. Yes. And so this is practice, is my understanding. Like, this is serious practice right now. We have been put into sort of I don't want to say cramming, but we have been put into a little bit of a cramming mode.
Right. We're right before finals.
Yes.
Senior year.
And that means we haven't gotten to the main event yet.
Right.
So it's our choice of how that main event comes up. It's our choice of how we experience it. And so, but we are committed, because we have left the station. So now it's like, okay, so we are going to experience this collectively, whatever that is. that we've been feeling coming for years now, right? And it's been a growing anxiety, not a great anxiety, growing anticipation, right?
Right.
That, not anxiety, the anticipation is the word. Anticipation of what's coming, because we could feel it. Those of us who've been in the active spiritual path, whatever, we can feel it. It's like we're committed, right? So a part of us wants to throw our hands up in the air and scream and yell and laugh and whatever, like, yay. And then there's the other part that's like, at the collective level, it's for all of us to do that, right? So if we don't all do that, it's all going to depend on what the whole experience is for all of us, right?
Right.
No, there's always still the individual experience. Anyway, so the thing is that so many are starting to already say, oh, well, when this, this is going to happen in May, this is going to happen in June. And I have the same thing. I have things planned, and I have like even retreats that I want to do at the end of the summer, and like that we've talked about. And I keep on getting, not yet. Be present
Right.
right
Right.
now. And that's your job right now, which is so challenging for us because we're so not used to being completely present, especially now that so many of us have had so many things taken away that are distractions, right? And then so the mind says, well, what purpose is this? What good is this, right? What good is this? It's just wasting time. So because we're so entrained, even those of us who are even more habitual in our presence. So the thing is, what I keep on seeing is bursting, like opening a cocoon before it's time to open the cocoon,
Right.
which is icky because then you don't survive that, right? And I'm not saying that in a literal sense. I'm saying that then we have to go do it again, is my understanding, or we have to do it again in a more intense way.
Right. Which I think that we've chosen as a collective for this to be as intense as we want it to culminate
To ensure that we do what we're choosing to do.
Right.
And these are the precursors of what we're required of ourselves to do this. And can we change it? Of course we can. And yet that's a collective thing that we've agreed to, which is why we're here. Like I've heard very, very clearly, this is why you're here.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Yes. So you can sit in the front seat and throw your arms up and laugh and enjoy the ride, and trust that you're not going to fall out, that you're not going to whatever. And that if it's your time to exit, if you're going to do work on the other side, or whatever through this, then that's your choice too. The point of this whole thing is not to get too hung up and going back to normal. We talked about that last week, but the thing is, I've seen that more and more this week of people saying, oh, well, when this happens in May, oh, this is still on for May, this is still on for June,
Right.
this is da-da-da. And yet I still feel a big band of contention collectively that's going on right now. Like you've got a lot of ego stuff coming up still.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's the ego's turf to get things back to normal.
Right.
Because normal is an egoic term.
Yes.
It's judging something.
Right. And the thing is, and this was something, I don't know, was it yesterday or the day before when I had sent you that article that I saw about, all right, in my county.
I don't know if that was Friday or Saturday.
So in my county in North Carolina, which is, the capital county, where we have more than 1 million people, right? We have had less than 400 who've been like diagnosed with the virus, right? Yet we're still on lockdown, all that kind of stuff. But the whole point is this was the point. We've had less than 400 in the county, even diagnosed. I saw this article that said in our county, there have been more than 500 complaints called into the police of people complaining about other people who are not abiding to their expectations of what they should be doing because
Right.
of the lockdown.
Yeah. Not following the rules.
So there are more people who have called in complaints about other people not doing what they think they should be doing than people who have actually gotten the virus in my county and diagnosed with it. I find that interesting. So that means that there's some real ugliness that's coming to the surface, which is good. It's great. But that means we're not ready to come out of the cocoon yet.
Right. Which I think that what we're going to find is that as this starts losing its traction with the public, that you're going to find that divide getting greater and greater. Those that believe this versus those that believe this. And that divide is going to polarize and create some choices for people.
Yeah, and I see that coming up already. Like you see a lot of people are starting to say this doesn't line up. I mean, you're even seeing it in the news. You're seeing like, wait a second. Oh, well, hospitals are getting financial benefit from like a death from the coronavirus, even if it's not from
even if they were hit by a bus first.
Yes. Yeah. And if they tested it and they're supposed to test everybody who, it just, so you see things like that. And then people are like, wait a second. And when you look at the numbers are not pandemic numbers. These are like flu season numbers that we have, and we're locked down.
And I can't even look at the numbers because a lot of people are exposed, have it, don't even know it. So their count is not reflective in the cases.
Right. And so that means the death rate is far, far lower.
Right.
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 Anyway, that's an aside.
Yeah, I don't want to get on that.
That's an aside. But the point was, you have people that now have this stuff that's coming up because they've had this cocooning thing going on, right? So they have some icky nastiness coming up that they don't know what to do with, and because they don't remember or allow themselves or trust themselves to go inside to look in, or believe that they can go inside and shift that themselves, right?
Right.
What they do is they do the typical, which is projected onto somebody else.
Exactly. Right.
So, Nikki said people are dropping like flies in Michigan. Well, but in reality, if you look at the overall numbers, they're actually very low. Even New York. I mean, New York is very highly populated. So of course you're going to have a higher percentage of population getting sick. Anyway, doesn't even matter. Neither here nor there. Does not matter.
Right.
But the reaction is still far outscaling of what's actually going on in the bigger world. Yeah, well, so it's funny, Nikki, we were laughing about this because when we were talking about this whole thing with complaints, which I think is hysterical, is that we think, well, maybe now I come from New York, so take this with a grain of salt, anybody who comes from New York.
You're allowed.
I was like, I'm allowed. This is where I come from. Maybe the universe is saying it's time to get rid of that whole area. I don't know. Well, they went through Hurricane Sandy, like all this kind of stuff. It's like they keep on getting hit hard with some stuff, and it's sort of interesting, right?
Well, and I do believe that things like this are attracted to, as she said, a lot of the heavy energy. It's
cleansing.
Right. Break it up.
Yes.
And like my favorite phrase is shift or get off the planet.
Exactly. Well, that's it. Shift or get off the planet. And that's without any judgment. That's just because we've left the station, we are gaining momentum, and it's time for us to do this. There's no more like, wait, just wait. Oh no, wait, just wait. Oh no, wait. There's no more of that, And so
it's been released.
Yes. And so what to do? It truly is, and there are so many that still say, oh, poo to meditation, oh, poo to whatever. And it's like, well, you can say poo and poo and poo, but it's just going to get more and more. So either you will eventually choose to leave the planet because you resist that so much, and that's part of your lesson plan, which is fine.
Well,
Or
your vibration just becomes incongruent with where you are and what's left.
right. Right. And the more that we go inside and become that calm centeredness, right? The more we can be that in all moments. The more the vibration shifts collectively,
Right.
so that all this other stuff literally just falls away, right?
Right.
And you just you just walk through it. And again, it goes to that vision I had in the beginning of this, of just walking through a field of bodies. And it's not like in a literal sense, but it's like you could walk through anything. You could walk through the heap of the collapse of all of civilization if that's what you're here to do, and then it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
So that's so we're at this, it feels like we're at this very, very thin edge of the sword, right? We're at this point of shift or get off the planet, but it's
a point of refinement.
yes, and it's a very pivotal point for us
Right.
on how we're going to proceed.
Right.
That this exercise in place for ourselves for a couple of things. One is, can you listen to your own guidance? Can you listen inside over everything else, even if it is completely different than what everybody else around you is getting, right? If it's
Right.
coming from a common centered and whole thing. And the thing is, the more you become trained to do that, the more you train yourself to do that and then help yourself remember, the easier it becomes, right?
Right. It becomes your nature.
Yes. So can you do that? And can you, like, regardless of what, can you trust regardless of what's going on around you, right? Which is sort of funny. I was thinking about this because, of course, yesterday was Easter, the whole Jesus resurrection thing, blah, 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 right?
Right.
And so, but the whole lesson with Yeshua had to do with transcendence.
Right.
And that inner guidance. And that's really being,
where you are.
what was that?
Transcend where you are.
Yeah, transcend what looks like, transcend what everything looks like around you, to be the divine self you are. That is the practice for us to be now. It's like,
exactly.
now it's time to walk the talk 100%.
Right.
And so, yeah, this is it's still a new practice for us. It's still a new habit, not a practice, a new habit for us to employ in every aspect of every portion of our lives, and everything that we do and everything that we be in every moment. And this is what we're giving ourselves the space to do. So as much as I would love for things to be moving forward, see, I'm not saying going back to normal.
Right.
As much as I would love for things to be moving forward, I know they are, but in the way that we anticipate, right?
Right.
I know that this step right here is in some way, I know that this is one of the most crucial steps for us. And if we get this right, if we get this step the way we intend, not right, if we get it the way we intended to create it,
right,
it will be a springboard for a much more expansive, flowing, fun paradigm evolution.
Absolutely.
So why hurry? Why hurry through it?
Right. Let's get this right.
It makes me think of, a friend of mine I was talking to a couple weeks ago said, oh, well, I cleaned my bathrooms today. And she's like, I guess 19 years. We've been in the house 19 years or 17 years, something like that. And she goes, it's the first time I took a toothbrush and I was doing like the little crevices underneath like the faucets and stuff like that,
Right.
Because you have the time, because you have the space to, right?
Right.
She goes,
Right.
I might never do it again. It's fun. I did it. I can at least say I did it once, right? I started laughing and I said, but that's what we have that opportunity to look at that detail within ourselves, right?
Right.
To do
Right.
beautiful
And
house cleaning.
again, like we've talked about, what a gift. The
Right,
gift we've given ourselves.
right. And for us to be able to really get spick and span, like get spick and span, that's the word that comes to me, like within ourselves, our energetic self, to clean it up, to really,
Trust.
yes. I mean, this is us like taking the space to retrain ourselves to really like focus. And we've given ourselves the space over the past decade, especially. But now it's like, okay, now we're going to take away even the distractions so that you can focus
Right.
even more so. And so, like, here's the thing, the mind wants to jump to what about tomorrow? What about next week? What about next month? That's where the anxiety comes from. Like, oh, well, I can do okay right now, but what about next month?
Right.
Right. Well, the world might be a completely different place in a month.
Exactly.
You might not even have any need to worry about that because it won't
Right.
even
All the things that you're consuming yourself with may just be totally irrelevant.
if
And
we are if we are moving and changing on this roller coaster now, so because we've left the station, we're moving so much more quickly that the world can be a completely different place a month from now. And that comes back to the real importance of presence and inner guidance and inner, whatever, inner consciousness, like
interdependence.
independence, truly, right? And people say, well, what about this? What about this food? What about this kind of money? What about this? What about it? Because look at what we've changed in a month.
Oh, I know. All the things we said, oh no, that'll never happen. Have
Right.
happened.
And it's sort of like in a big crashing down around us, but that's all right.
Right.
It could be far worse.
Right.
So the question to ask is, as we were talking about last week, is what is there for me to do? What is there for me to be? And to get the answer is for us to do that practice of getting inside. And this sounds so elementary but we can talk all day long about like population control and off planet. We could talk about population control. We could talk about off planet wars and battles and which again, by the way, is ego as well, right?
Right.
We could talk about there's so many things that we could talk about because there are so many things going on in the multiverse around us right now. I mean, we're a part of all of it.
Right.
But the key of transportation and transcendence and navigating it in the clearest, cleanest, most fulfilling manner, I guess. That's not quite the right word, but so that we can do this in a harmonious way, right?
Right.
In that holographic, the holographic picture, which is what we were talking about in the I guess the teaser to come into this.
Right.
It's like, because the more that all the parts of us and our consciousness within this big hologram of the multiverse doing this paradigm shifting right now, the more we all come into that harmony of our symphonic notes, right? And that's
The hologram becomes clearer
yes.
and more focused.
And
And so clearer and more focused as individuals within that hologram need to be.
right. And whole. Like it becomes that whole symphony.
Right.
It becomes that perfect chord.
Right.
That
Each note perfectly tuned,
yes.
played.
In that perfect moment. Right. And this is what we came here for. So and if it's for us to really be in that place of getting to that. So it's like, instead of putting if you find yourself judging other people for what they're doing or not doing right now, same thing for those of us who are like, okay, well, I'm listening to guidance and I don't see why so many people are just hunker down,
Right.
whatever. And it's the same thing for us to not judge people who've chosen that right now,
Right.
right?
Judgment is from both sides.
Right, from all sides. Yeah.
Right.
So it's for us to step back and see what we're judging and who we're judging, and to say, okay, now I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to turn it inside. Because by the way, the more we do that, the faster this will go.
Right. Right.
And then the easier it will be to move forward from here, right? Instead of it being clunky or painful or, whatever, it's okay, we'll have this and we have this opportunity, and a great way to look at myself and observe my actions and thoughts, words, and deeds, and look at the judgment, look at the blame, look at all that kind of stuff, and turn that back inside and say, okay, where is there, like, why do I care? What does that come down to for me, so that I can change that, and then come from a place of love and acceptance. And then if we all did that, wow,
Right.
that's when everything changes on a dime, even faster than what we've changed in the past month. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah, I think I think our message is out there, and
Yeah.
now we just go focus on it.
Yeah. And so it's okay. So let's be so present. So I guess the focus is remembering how to be so present in right now. And we don't care what happens in a week or a month or 6 months, right? That we're so present in right now. And see, the mind wants to kick in and say, oh, but you have a business, and how do you do that? And da 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 da. Well, we've sort of shut down the world right now in many ways. And that's been our choice, because we're like, okay, we got to get to this point. So to say, if we can commit ourselves to saying, I am 100% present in this moment, and in fulfilling and being whole in this moment, and let me guide myself to a place where I can allow that, because it's in that we push through, that we flow, not push through, but we flow through our unhappiness, our sadness, our loneliness, our anger. It's when we can come into ourselves and say, because all of that is from the not moment, the not now.
Right.
And when we come to that place of, I am so present that I can do nothing but be content and in a space of love and acceptance, that's when it's time for us to just move forward. And then we'll know, because it's going to literally happen on a dime.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
on a penny.
The reset button has already been pressed.
Yes. So I think that's our creation for this week, is having that remembrance of complete presence of, where am I right now in this moment? What am I guided right now in this moment, which might change in 5 minutes.
Right.
Or 5 hours or 5 days, doesn't matter. And for us to not judge ourselves about that, and also not to judge others, like, and take any judgment of others and blame, to turn that within ourselves and stop.
Right. Use the judgment as the tool that it's really meant to be, is that's an indication of you to go further into to examine something within yourself.
Yes. So whatever that is, for you to be able to do that, let's
Right. To hold that energy.
Yeah.
That vibration.
Yeah. And be able to exist in a space of love, because we've forgotten how to do that. Right. And love unconditionally means, I don't judge you for your journey, and I don't judge me for mine either.
Right.
That I accept your journey as perfect as I accept mine. So all of that in a nice little beautiful bow in the front seat of the roller coaster. All right, you ready?
I am.
All right, for anybody who's watching or listening, just all you have to do is close your eyes, take a deep breath, and be open to receive. That was really interesting. I saw more and more like connecting. And it was weird because we were sort of standing in this circle and there was a tombstone. So I walked forward to see what the tombstone was, and it was for the old earth. Like it was like, and we were all there to give our gratitude. And there was like no mourning or grieving, or it was just all gratitude and love of thank you. Like that, we were so grateful for us having done this to this point in the way it was done. And now it's time to put it to bed and move forward in a different way. And so it felt really nice. And then I just went way out there after that.
Yeah. For some reason, I saw just flowers everywhere. It was a magnificent experience. It was just like there were just flowers opening up everywhere. It
Nice.
was it was great.
Nice. All right, everyone. So this week, stay present. That's
Yes,
the whole message. And see what comes to you in your presence, like because the more we commit to it, the more I find like I get my guidance and like insights, visions, and stuff like that all just come so much more naturally and automatically
right,
the more I'm in that presence.
right.
That's really for us to really get good at and remembering. So Sandy says it was very peaceful, lots of creation energy. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was very,
probably what the flowers were.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
created.
that's what it felt like with me. Yeah, when you said that. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg, Evan Yoni.
signing off on this week's Ascended World. Have a good one.